You want to go right ahead? Oh, no, not yet.
All right, we're all set.
Gary, or who's your co-chair, Gary? Juan? Okay.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, Juan is my co-chair. Is he on?
No, I don't see him, but go right ahead, sir.
All right, so we'll begin through the question quickly, or yeah, let's just run through the questions you were supposed to answer. I guess.
And Mr. Chairman, I have enabled screen sharing, so if the department would like to share any documents to walk through, that's available to them.
And I would just ask that we don't over-explain. If we need more information, I think members of the committee will teach. There was a document that you sent back the questions. The first was about the capital projects for the medical and mental health prevention. Can you go into that?
They don't have the ward staff does not have a mayor unit station. They got like 5 of them at Northern.
That's crazy.
So take one of them, put them in there, set them up with a TV boom, they're good to go, you know?
Could you please mute yourself if you're not speaking? Thank you. Commissioner, go right ahead.
Good afternoon. Sorry about that. So the first one, Senator Winfield, that has to do with the report that was submitted to the public of regarding our healthcare services, and it requires, in order to fully implement 308 positions, the estimate of almost $22 million without the fringe benefits. There is some construction that needs to happen, and some equipment purchase that also needs to happen.
Okay. Questions on that?
Yes, can I ask, sir, how many paid positions do you have in your account right now?
Paid positions, it was in the report that I sent you. I believe it was 5,962 are authorized, 962 are funded, 5,670 are filled.
5,670
Are filled.
are filled. So if we brought you up to your 5,962, it wouldn't cost us anything because they're already paid for, correct?
No, that's not correct. Some of those, the majority of those, close to 300 positions vacant. The majority are correctional officers, and probably about another 125, I believe, are our health service unit, like 75 registered nurses, and like 60 LPNs.
Okay, but you said that you have 962 paid positions, but you have only 5,600 and something currently in your staffing?
Yes, 5,600 are filled, and 5,962 are authorized and funded.
Okay, so you have 362 that are authorized and funded. So
Correct.
It wouldn't cost us anything to fill those positions, correct?
Depends on what you're identifying as those positions. The 308 positions I have identified, it is additional staffing in order to implement that Public Act 22-133.
But that's if you had you're looking at if you had your full staffing complement, it would cost you that many extra positions, but you don't have your full staff complement. So what Representative Walker is saying is you could use the positions that you should already have filled, and it would cover that gap. And we recognize that there's other stuff you need to do.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Commissioner, if I may,
Yeah.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Who's that?
This
This is Mickey Regan. I'm the Chief Fiscal Officer for the Department of Correction.
Could you put, wait, could you put your camera, can you put your camera on, please?
I don't know that you want to see me. I'm recovering from COVID right now.
Oh, well, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
And I apologize if I cough, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Times we live in. The question you have is about the number of positions that we have that are authorized and funded within the budget, and the differential between that and the unfilled. Do we have the funding? Yes, the funding, we are funded for the full complement. So no, we would not need additional funds to cover the vacancies because they're built into the budget as it is. But that also assumes that our overtime costs will come down, because PS is used to cover overtime costs as well as straight salary time. So right now, we're facing some difficulties because our overtime is up.
Mhm.
And since it's all consumed, PS is all consumed by overtime and straight time. That's where we are at the moment. But in theory, yes, the money is there in the budget as it exists right now to cover the authorized positions.
But, okay, so this is like a catch-22 that you could never get out of if we keep that same scenario, because of the fact that you will always have overtime until you get the staffing.
There is a certain amount of overtime that is baked in the cake, because we're a 24/7 operation, right? So you can't run a 24/7 operation, whether you're us, whether you're a university, whether you are DEMIS, whether you are anybody, a hospital, doesn't matter. If you have to have staff on site, you're going to have overtime. Because even if we had a full complement, if all of those positions were filled today, we still got people taking vacations, still got people being out on various leaves like workers' comp and sick leave and other types of leave, military, et cetera. So there's always going to be a certain amount of overtime that is built into the system. What happens is when our complement drops is the demand on overtime increases, and it starts to increase exponentially. So, or roughly exponentially. I mean, that's sort of a gross exaggeration use of that term, but it illustrates the point. So the further we get away from 100%, the greater demand there is for overtime. And as I said, overtime consumes the PS, and it consumes PS at a rate that is greater than straight time, because we're paying time and a half or double time in some cases, depending upon the contract. So yeah, we are chasing our tail constantly. But again, there is a sort of a sweet spot that we're hoping to get to with regard to keeping our levels at a certain rate. And I will defer to the commissioner to explain this. He can explain that much better than I can.
I'm gonna intercede.
Cut me off. Very good, sir.
Yes, I think we kind of understand it, so I don't think we need to use our time here to go through that. If people want a more detailed answer, they can do that off camera. We're gonna move to the next question unless there are questions. All right. I'm trying to keep us on track. This is about vocational village and the budget. You want to talk a little bit about that, and we'll see if there are any questions.
Yes, sir. So there's $20 million funded to support the offender program investment. It's a 3-phase approach. Currently, we're on phase 1. The cost of phase 1 is about $1.3 million. It involves initial investments to improve and create the program space, equipment, CDL simulators that will be offering Carl Robinson, York, and Brooklyn. Phase 2 of the program costs us about $6.15 million. And phase 3, which is the final project, is about $10 million. In phase 3, that's where the vocational village Butler buildings, 2 Butler buildings will be fully installed and in full operation. As far as that Butler building, we already invested into the land study. So DAS has approved the funds, and that's underway, and we should be probably completed within the next 5 months. Then it will go to the designer, a vendor for the designer phase. Lucky for us, the individual doing the land study will be the company also doing the design phase. So that is vocational village.
Okay. Questions?
Just one quick question, please. with the program itself, do you have an estimate of how many of the inmates will take advantage of the program once it's rolled out?
Yes, Representative Candelaria, I can get you that information because like Carl Robinson's a main site, there's six courses, a maximum of 15 students. So depending on the course, if it takes 6, 8, 12 weeks, then we'll recycle it. So we're hoping that within a calendar year in Carl Robinson, at minimum, we can do at least 300 individuals to go through the program.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. Questions from anyone else on the committee? Representative Porter.
Just really quick, and I don't know if you already stated it, but where will the Butler building be?
Representative Porter, the Butler buildings, there's 2 Butler buildings coming into Carl Robinson, which will be the main vocational village facility.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Questions from others? Yeah, Rep. Walker, sorry.
Yeah, so for the vocational village, you have the money for the rollout for the vocational village with the 20 million that you've already got. So there doesn't require any additional dollars for the vocational village. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else?
Gary, real quick, I want to circle back because of what Tony just asked. I want to make sure I got the numbers right. You said the first phase is 1.3 million?
First phase is $1.2 million. The second phase, yes.
1.2. The second phase was 6.15.
Correct.
And the last phase was 10 million.
10 million.
And you've been allocated 20. So what happens to the excess funding?
The rest of excess funding goes to the salary of the program manager that we've hired, and it also goes into administrative costs, licensing, and other equipment that may be needed at the end.
And do you have an amount for the program manager's salary?
Yes, I can get that to you. I don't have it on top of my right now, but I can get that to you. She was hired. It's Janice Floyd. She came from the Department of Motor Vehicles. She started in January 7th, 2023.
1/7/23. Okay, and if you can get that to the administrator so she can get it to all of us, that would be appreciated.
You got it, Representative Porter.
Thank you.
I would amend that to all of the stuff we just talked about, except the et cetera. You get that? Not just the salaries, but all the stuff you talked about in answering that question.
Yes.
Questions from others? Seeing none, we'll go to the free phone calls. One, I got a kid issue.
Okay. Commissioner, if you don't mind just going through the free phone call, just a brief summary on that.
So far, we paid close to $1.8 million FY23 for 6 months of service for the cause. The contract, we're obligated to pay close to $3.6 million for the whole FY budget. We don't know exactly what the cost will be for the next year contract, as DAS is in current negotiation with the vendors. And we're hoping that in the next couple of weeks that the vendor will be selected and the vendor proposal will be submitted by May of this year. And then a vendor will be selected. So that's where we're at with it. And again, the free phone calls and the text messaging have tripled in compared to the previous year.
Since just a quick question, Commissioner, before I go to any of my colleagues. I see that in your write-up, you talked about we had put in money in the budget to cover those costs. Now, do you foresee with the new contract that's being negotiated that that's enough funding for it? Do you have an idea where do we stand with the vendor? Also, does that cover the cost? We also have the tablets themselves. Is that separate? That's in a separate vendor contract? If you want to just clarify that for me.
Yeah, so the tablet account is the same vendor.
Okay.
It's a separate contract. It's a separate
Got
contract versus the telephone. The deal that's being in an RFP right now is just for the phone services. I do not have any information when it comes to where we're at with because I'm out of the loop when it comes to the the process. The only thing that I know is that DAS is indicating that within the next couple of weeks, the contracts, these vendors should be selected, and then the contract should be finalized. What the prices are going to be, I'm not sure what it is. I can tell you that the previous contract was a fixed rate for the individuals per se. I think it's $19 per each individuals incarcerated for the phone calls a month.
Any questions from the committee members? Representative Porter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You said $19. Is that a month? Is that a call? What is that?
Per month for individuals under custody.
So $19 a month per inmate or per incarcerated person.
Correct.
And once you know who the vendor is, can you just make sure that we know that? Is it currently still Securus?
It is still Securus. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Juan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee members? Nope. So let's proceed to the second question, Commissioner.
Yes. The second question is about the what specific training is needed for the monitoring staff. So in the budget, the governor did give us 15 additional correctional officers position that is going to assist in reviewing and monitoring the calls.
Hi. So, you,
Hey,
I guess
Sue.
you were supposed to do this because,
So, oh, there we go. All right, sorry about that, Commissioner.
sorry.
It's okay.
So the number of calls and text messages have tripled. So the additional staff will be utilized to monitor on the calls. There's the staff that are, the question, why not a correction officer in a different classification, to me is simple. I need the persons that are going to be doing reviewing these phone calls have to have the correctional knowledge, working inside a correctional facility, that usually work in a housing unit, that went through the academy, that interacts with the population. These officers that are selected usually are more senior officers with 5, 6, 7 years of experience on the line before they go into that unit. So to me, that experience, that lived experience of working a housing unit and working around the population is essential to have while we're monitoring these calls.
So, Commissioner, you basically you said that you have 50 positions that the governor put into the budget to monitor the phone calls. So we have the money in the budget now. Do you foresee that these new 15 positions are new hires? I'm assuming that you'll